tuned into the game.
We are the gentlemen that grant the melanin revolution.
You are now tuned in to part 2 of We Back in the Building with the Game Recognized Game podcast with RLJ and Kev.
Man, that's crazy, yo. Like, why you mad? You mad for nothing?
Nothing. But whatever. What else has been going on, man? I feel like
Yo, it's funny, man. 'Cause, we talk about the summer and everything again. But one of the things that I've tried to explore is really getting out my bubble and just experiencing people, man. I'm back on the dating scene again.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Back on the dating scene again, brother Jay, after a brief hiatus. Just trying to, because
recalibration. You had to recalibrate.
Yeah, recalibrate, man. And at the end of the day, man, I'm in my early 40s, man. I don't want to be, eligible single bachelor forever and ever and ever.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? But I do think it's funny though, because a lot of the same conversations that occurred when we kind of kicked off this beautiful thing called the Game Recognized Game podcast with RLJ and Kev, they're kind of resurfacing. One of the things that have resurfaced, Brother Jay, is the concept or myths or facts around zodiac signs. Like in your data, you know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to figure out, like, where did this thing begin? Like, what was it, the 60s when people were kind of taking psychedelics and there was like a cool pickup line, like, yo, what's your zodiac sign? Was it the 70s when people was drinking cognac?
It started with what was the group that sang Float On? What was the name of the group that sang Float On?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Hold on. I gotta put that in the Google machine, man.
What it wasn't the Drifters. Was it the Drifters?
Again, man, because it's a funny because the dude that was talking in the joint,
Melvin.
I'm Melvin. Like, yo, who talks like that?
Was it the Floaters?
The Floaters. That's the name of the group.
Floaters.
It was the Floaters. It was the Floaters. And I'm trying to figure out, like, when did like it become a kind of cliche or popular to really, talk about the zodiac signs. So look, I had to break up part of it to talk about the zodiac signs. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it a 60 thing, 70 thing? And why is it still relevant? And I say all that to say, Brother Jay, because unfortunately, depending on however you look at it, I'm a Scorpio, Brother Jay. And depending on who you ask, Scorpios either got a good reputation, or a horrific reputation.
But I think that's like that with all of the signs.
Yeah, but I maybe because it's my sign, like, I don't pay too much attention outside of the signs, and when people talk about myths or facts that I either agree or disagree with. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, prior to us hitting record, we had kind of talked about like certain signs that were applicable to our own. Yeah. But for the purpose of this conversation, I'll stick with my own sign. You know what I'm saying? Like, people really just think that Scorpios are like lustful, horny toes that don't like nobody. Vengeful and spiteful and aggressive and angry. We can't let stuff go. I don't think that's me, Brother Jay. I don't think that is me. I'm a very kind, heartfelt person that I legit want the best for everybody until you cross me. So then, some of that myth of the Scorpio, like, yo, I ain't gonna lie. So do you think
it's conditional?
Like, is it conditional?
Like a if then? So like, I know I'm a Cancer sign, and so Cancers are typically seen as emotional, and anyone that is seen as emotional can be seen as weak. Right. What I will say is, I think a lot of the individuals that I know that are Cancers, we are full of emotion, but everyone doesn't get access to the emotional Rolodex, if you will.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And so, like, because we are in tune with emotions, most of us are empaths. And I think we have a keener sense of intuition.
Discernment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I will say is, I'm not a big follower of the Zodiac sign. What I will say is, I have started to like examine patterns. So when people hang their hat on the fact that they are a certain sign, I'm just like, let's examine behavior. Right?
Yeah,
like,
man.
let's examine behavior, because it's like, Virgos. Yep. Like, someone be like, because, as a Virgo, I'll be like, But period. What I will say is, I also want to point out that when someone points out a characteristic of you that may be shown or seen in the negative light, hiding behind your zodiac sign is not permissive.
Nah, it's not at all.
Like,
especially if it's not accurate, you know what I mean?
But not even
you hide behind like a false kind of pretense of like how you supposed to be.
Or I think also that removes some accountability for like you being an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've heard someone say, well, I'm a Virgo, and we want what we want when we want it. Yes, but you don't have to be an asshole, right? Like, I told one of my friends that, like, you may be a Virgo, but it doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. And it doesn't mean that I have to accept you treating people around me like they're not worthy of your time because you want what you want when you want it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. And I think a lot of people have fallen into when someone points out, maybe it's considered to be a flaw. Well, I'm a Libra, so blah, 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 blah. And I think we sometimes subscribe to that as an excuse to not change or to not grow and not be in tune with being a good human.
Yeah, I think that's what I have the problem with when people kind of attach personality traits to a mythical zodiac sign. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I a freak? Yeah, I might be a little freak. I might be a little bit of a freak, Brother Jay. That's but within my own habitat, then I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe. But at the same time, like when you talk about being unforgiving or when or you're being passionate or stubborn or whatever about anything, I think what misses the mark a lot of times is that if you want to attach those Scorpio traits to me, attach them shits to some good shit. Like, I ride for my family.
Yeah.
I ride for the people that I love and care about. I ride for the people that care about me. And yeah, I might be an asshole to a degree because it's them. Like, I'm just not an asshole to walk through life as an asshole. I'm like, yo, I'm extra motivated, extra passionate, extra stubborn about the people that I love and I care about.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, and we kind of talked about this before, our pre-production meeting, like, just because you saw some shit on the internet or you read it in the newspaper, because, horoscopes started out, reading in the newspaper back in the day, don't necessarily mean like that's how you show up in all of your relationships or in your entire life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think when you think about dating, I think it's somewhat unfair.
Oh, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's somewhat unfair to just say, all right, well, if you are a Libra, then I attach all of the BS that I may think come with Libras to you.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Without understanding who you are as a person. You know what I'm saying? I use Libra as an example because I've had several relationships with Libras in the past. And, the big thing about Libra is like, yeah, it's about balance and fairness and stuff like that. And I was like, well, that's cool. But, you know, who sets the determination of what's fair.
Yeah. Who's it serving, right? And I always ask
yeah.
people,
Who's the fairness serving?
Yeah, like, is it you create balance when you're the beneficiary of the balance? And then in that sense, it's not really balance, is it?
Yeah.
Right? And in relationships, people will show up, but once again, it's going back to my point. A lot of people will hide, even a lot of my clients. A lot of people will hide behind their zodiac sign. Well, that's just how Scorpios are. False. What you should say is, thank you for telling me what you have observed. However, that was not my intention.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I am aware, I can make the steps so I'm not showing up like that. Like, I dated a few Libras, right? I think the Taurus, if I look back in hindsight, I had to have conversations with the Taurus often to say, you can't keep blaming it on the position of the sun. You can't keep blaming it on the position of the planets. Like, you was just an asshole to that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't get to hide behind your zodiac sign and avoid accountability for you just being an asshole. Like, that's
Queen Elizabeth II was a Taurus, by the way, Brother Jay. I don't know if you know that.
good for her.
Yeah, just throw that out there.
Ain't no zodiacs in heaven, but like I said, so she won't be there. She, like, having the conversation, pointing out, like, okay, cool, this may be a character trait or flaw that others have identified in you. So if multiple people are telling you that you do X, Y, and Z, you can't say you can't. You should not just shrug your shoulders and just be like, because I always, when we would have conversations, I would ask her, I was like, is that how you want people to see you? Yeah, that may be how X, Y, and Z are and blah, blah, blah. But is that what you want to be attached to you? Because, like, I've noticed when you walked in the room and some people are like, you know what, we just going to move out the way. Because we don't want to deal with all of that. And so it's tough when we walk in the room together as an item. And now I'm receiving the cold shoulder from people that are giving it to you. And they're giving it to me just because I'm associated with you.
Yeah.
Right. So asking, like, is that how you really want to show up within the relationship? And if so, then, you can say, yes, that's just some things we're going to have to reevaluate. And it may not be us after this. But, like, really wanting people to say, all right, cool, this is what people have noticed. Well, press pause on that. I think this also falls within the lines of people don't like to receive feedback. And so sometimes they can hide behind, going again, the zodiac sign.
That's just how I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to accept me as I am.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. Right? I don't have to. Right? I don't have to accept anything that you present to me. I could decline anything that you offer to me. I don't even have to engage with you. Right? I don't have to put you into my realm of associates, acquaintances, friends, anything. Like, I don't have to. None of that. There's nothing that says I have to.
So if a Gemini is low key two-faced for real, as they say Geminis are.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, all right, well, I'm a Gemini. I talk shit and I'm not my authentic self, and I talk shit about you behind your back. That's just who I am.
Yeah, and it's just like, but you don't see a problem with that? Like,
yeah.
Like, if someone comes to me and says, like, a negative character flaw or trait that they have seen me exhibit, I'm going to, reevaluate myself or take into first I'm going to take into consideration the source, right? Because everyone doesn't qualify to give you feedback. But then at that moment, I think I would probably ask a few people like, yo, I've been told I show up X, Y, and Z, or when people do this, this is how I respond. Have you experienced that? And if you haven't, if you do notice me exhibiting this type of behavior, like as my friend, I want you to check me on it. I don't want you to wait till we get in the car and be like, you was an asshole, right? Like, tap a brother on the shoulder, say, hey, let's go get a drink, or step outside real quick. And like, sometimes we need to have a sidebar in the middle of the main event. Because sometimes, like, if you're my friend or you're within my close circle, sometimes we can't wait until the event is over and do an AAR, an after action review. Right?
Accountability is of the essence, man. Right. Time is of the essence when it comes to accountability.
Absolutely, right? So I need you to tell me in a moment, like, yo, are you aware that you're presenting as an asshole? And sometimes I may be like, fair, I could be. I may be aware that, yes, that was my intent for today, and here's the reason why. But thank you for examining it. Maybe I need to pull it back some. Because I'm not trying to be an asshole, I'm just trying to be assertive. But, like, maybe I went a little too far, so maybe I can dial it back. But having those conversations and not hiding behind the Zodiac sign. I challenge individuals. Like, all right, cool. So the myth says this, or you're known to do this. How can you start showing up differently? And I think the first part of showing up differently is, one, to accept and acknowledge that this is how you are seen when you show up. Right? And so being careful with my words there, because you may not be aware that this is how you're showing up, and that may not be your intent, but your intention versus impact is completely different.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't intending to show up as an asshole. And you know what? Maybe I was not aware that I'm being very combative today. Thank you for holding me accountable.
And that is dope. You know what I mean? But I also think when people kind of rely on like Zodiac characteristics and traits and shit, I think unfortunately people don't have the ability to kind of reframe what something could mean, right? And I'll use myself and the Scorpios as an example. The myth is Scorpios dislike everyone. Like, we hate everybody, right? And I ain't gonna lie, in some cases that shit might be true depending on who you are, but neither here nor there.
Fair.
However, if you flip it and reframe it, the reality of it is it just takes time for Scorpios to build trust with others for one rhyme or reason or another.
Okay.
Right? So it ain't that you dislike everyone. It's like, all right, well, I'm not gonna just vibe with people off the rip for, whatever has happened to me and my values and situations in years past. I might not be in the mood to just, and I could attest to that, man. I'll be 42 in November, man, and I ain't really in the business of like meeting new friends like that.
Fair.
You know what I mean? So it ain't like I dislike people, but it's like, hey, man. When I lock in with somebody that I consider a friend, like, it's a lifelong commitment to me. Remember, I'm passionate about the people I love and care about. So it's a lifelong commitment. Everybody don't get that.
True.
You know what I mean?
But do you think that has created unnecessary stress? So like if you meet someone and you be like, oh, okay, cool, we finna rock this thing till one of us transitions to the other side. Do you think that has caused unnecessary stress? And
I think it did when I was younger.
Okay.
Because I ain't know any better. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you use one method for all people.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, and unfortunately, and I learned this probably when I was like in the world really adulting and shit. I learned that early on, especially when I was in college, that just because we classmates, or just because we suite mates, or just because we live on the same hall, or we in the same frat, or we in the same circles, that don't mean you get access to my value. That don't mean you get access to my time, talent, and treasure.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? And I think That's something that I had to learn because, I'm Scorpio is a water sign, right? So, we passionate about everything. Like you say, we're empaths. And a lot of times if you're an empath, you want to make sure that everybody else is straight, or you giving of yourself for somebody else.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't deserve that because you're not going to get it in return.
Fair.
And I learned that, and I kind of learned that the hard way when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? Like, your light ain't destined to shine on everybody. Because some people jealous of it, some people hate it, some people mad that you can persevere and go through a lot of bullshit and still come out with a smile on your face.
That's true.
And that's the wild thing now, because even now, man, we were talking about people in kind of this post-COVID era. Like, people ain't smiling no more. Or people, like, if you are smiling, people questioning why you smiling, or why you happy, or why you in a good mood. And it might not be because you hit the lottery, or because you got a new job, or somebody slid in your DM. It might just be because, damn, today ain't as fucked up as yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's something to be grateful for. And people legit look at your ass like you crazy, because you got like a different mentality on what's going around, what's going on in your surroundings.
Yeah.
And so I learned the hard way, especially like relationships and encounters that I had in college and shortly thereafter, that yo, man, everybody who say they're your friend don't necessarily mean that they ain't about the shits to be your foe either.
Yeah.
And so that has helped me temper my like expectations around people and what I'm really willing to give. So it ain't that I dislike people. It's more so like, yo, man, I've been around the block a few times to know how trust is developed within a meaningful relationship.
I think that's good. And I think another lesson that I had to learn in addition to that one, I had to learn that sometimes we're placed on shelves on different levels in other people's lives. So for instance, if I consider you a close friend, the assumption is that you would consider me to be a close friend as well.
Facts.
And that's not always the case.
That is true. I had to learn it the hard way too.
It's not always the case. And so I didn't learn this lesson thoroughly until 32.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
think about how many people you done met.
Yeah.
In that time span, just up to 32.
Yeah. That because I'm putting you in high regard, but I started to see that the high regard wasn't also extended to me.
Yeah.
And so I had to, as one of my community grandmothers used to say, she said, baby, sometimes you got to take your money out the bank.
Hello. Especially if they ain't FDIC certified.
She said,
keep your shit in the mattress.
Yeah. She said, hey, baby, listen, baby, sometimes you're going to have to take your money out the bank.
Yeah.
Because if it's not enough, if it's not yielding enough, sometimes you're gonna have to take it out. Mm-hmm. And bro, she said something so simple that stuck with me. She was in her 90s when she said this to me, and I'm sitting here thinking like, because we were talking about some stuff, and I was telling her some lessons I was learning, and baby, sometimes you just gonna have to take your money out the bank. And when I really thought about it, I'm just like, man, and so. She passed on, and years later, I finally am put into a situation where I have to make a decision based on the regard in which I received from another person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. And it's not malicious, right? When I tell people this, it's not that I was malicious in this or that I am only doing X because they're only doing Y. It's like, sometimes you have to give people the same amount in which you are given. right? Like,
it's tough, man, because that reflection, like, people might be pissed because they might be thinking they giving way more than what they actually giving.
Yeah.
And when you put that mirror up in front of them, like, people might be mad.
Well, my background, psychology, we watch people's behaviors, patterns, changes, all that good stuff. And I was seeing how people were showing up for others. And because I'm on the inside, I know how the others were treating the people that were given 200, 300%. And I'm just like, wow. This person hadn't shown up for this person at all.
Yeah.
And they're getting the world over here. I ask the question or say, hey, I need help with this. And I get excuses. And it's not that necessarily, right? I remember someone told me, forgive the favors given, only remember the ones received. Right? Don't worry about what you've done, but always remember what was done unto you. Yeah. So it's not that I'm keeping a track record, but it's just like, wait a minute. wait a minute. Because, I like the Capital One app because the Capital One will tell me, anticipated based on previous months and my spending habits, this is the amount of money that's going to come in for the month. And so far, this is the amount of money that has gone out. And so as I'm meeting with my financial advisor, he says, if the out is more than the in, you have to reevaluate some things immediately. You're in a world
of trouble, man. You're in that MC Hammer category.
Yeah. He said, now keep in mind, this is only doing a monthly snapshot. So if you had money coming into the account that wasn't recorded, that happened before the first day of the month, then it's going to look like you're spending more than what's anticipated to come in. But this is giving you a real-time snapshot like, oh, if I had 4,000 coming in so far in the month and I've already spent 9, there's a deficit there. There's a problem. And so I started to evaluate individuals that I was allowing access to me in that same sense. Not necessarily saying comparing what we're giving, but how you're showing up. Because sometimes
it's not what you're giving or the transaction.
Yeah.
I think it's the intention behind the transaction or the lack of the intention that doesn't lead to a transaction.
Yeah.
That is reciprocated.
So I'm not saying that if I give you 50, you also got to give me 50.
Yeah.
Right? If I gave you 50 and that 50 put me behind in a few things, like that was a big sacrifice. Versus someone that says, oh, 50 ain't nothing, right? And so I don't want to compare $50 to $50. What I am saying is considering how you're showing up for people who have shown up for you time and time again. And so being really careful with, one, the investment in others of my time, temple, talent, and treasure. Time, temple, talent, treasure. Yeah, I said that right. Yeah. But I'm also mindful, like, if I call you and there's excuses, then I have to remember that, like, granted, I know that everyone's not always going to be available. And I was telling my therapist, I said, I had to learn, when I first entered my adult years, that everyone wasn't going to do like I would do for others. Everyone ain't going to show up like I would show up for others. So I had to keep that in mind. But I had to really, 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 really reflect on, like, if anytime I come to you with something and you're always giving me an excuse, that just removed access for you to come to me with a request. It's not that I'm going to give you an excuse, but I'm just going to say no. I'm not going to consider it.
Or if you fail, you continuously are kind of not showing up and reneging on promises too.
Yeah. Insufficient funds, right? You wrote a check, it bounced, boom. What happens after you write so many insufficient fund checks?
Shit, they shut your shit down.
The account you no longer have access to the benefits of banking at that institution. Right? And so I had to start treating my relationships like that. Like, yo, if anytime I called you and like you just didn't come through, like I hit you up, you wouldn't respond for a couple of days, or like, and going back to the Zodiac sign, sometimes Cancers, we don't ask for stuff because we've seen how people don't come through for us, right? So it's like, you know what, we'll just figure it out. So if I get to the point where I have to ask, right, there's a definite urgent need there.
Well, the myth is because you have to ask, or because you there might be a level of emotion within the ask that you're weak or defenseless.
Yeah.
As a Cancer,
yeah.
Speaking like the myth versus reality, where the reality is, Cancers are extremely resilient and they can deal with all sorts of situations. I think it's more so like, all right, well, just be transparent and let me know what the fuck I got to deal with, so I could deal with it accordingly versus assuming shit.
Yeah, like I don't want you to say this is what you're going to do, and then when it's time to do it, you got an excuse. You should have just said no to begin with, right? And so I don't want to say I'm burning bridges. But what I will say is preventing people access to me in which they abused it, or I recognize that people had access to me in ways that they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
No love is lost. It just looks different, right?
Because you can adapt and deal with any situation.
Yeah.
Just give me the real on what situation that I'm dealing with.
What is it looking like when I show up, right? And so I had to start making withdrawals. I had to take stuff back, and I'm not sitting down. I'm not having a meeting. I'm not saying, hey, this is what we're doing. I'm just going to continue to move the way I'm moving, right? Like I remember someone hit me up over the summer asking me to do something, and I scrolled up to look at our message chain. And I asked one question if they could do something. They didn't respond for 7 days. I go up earlier. I asked for something, and they hit me with an excuse. So, I don't hold grudges, but I remember facts very well.
See, that's so Scorpios, we don't hold grudges, man. I just keep receipts.
Yeah, I'm a fact.
It ain't a grudge. The receipt ain't a grudge. You know what I'm saying? The receipt is just a document or a record of what happened. So I know, like, all right, well, this is what happened on the last transaction. I probably shouldn't put a lot of faith, hope, or value in it happening any differently in the future.
And
right.
And this may come out wrong, but sometimes you have to treat people how they show up to be treated.
Yeah.
Right? If you give me a 2 every time, I'm going to have to start treating you like a 2 because you're not deserving of the 10 that I was giving you. Like you mishandled it. You abused it. You misused it. When I was giving it to you, you didn't honor it. So now you give me a 2, I'm going to have to give you a 2 back.
That's why I don't fool with everybody, Brother Jay. It's too many 2s. It's too many 2s that's giving out these days, right. Man. Not enough 10s.
And,
you know what I mean?
And my therapist said something cold the other day. She goes, you have a very good sense of discernment. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. And so she's like, I want you to think about people that you are allowing to get connected to you, because sometimes people are connected to you for what you can give to them. I said, fair. Let me go to the drawing board. She goes, no, I really want you to think about it. Anytime someone hits you up, think about why they are connected to you, and is the relationship or connection one-sided? Right? Like, and I immediately thought of someone that found out I was sitting on the board for an organization they were trying to get a job for. And they knew that in about 6 months, something was going to come up. And so I just so happened to be listening as they were talking to someone else. And I heard someone say, oh, well, talk to Ronald. He sits on the board. Now, mind you, this person, we've crossed paths several times over the years, right? No words have been exchanged. Now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, how are you? How's blah blah blah? You know, the last time I talked to you, blah blah blah. And in my head, I'm like, we never had a conversation. We've been at the same event and you wouldn't speak or did not speak, or you had an attitude, or if it was people that I was around that you didn't like, or I've been in the group where you've spoken to select people and not everyone that was standing there. So now all of a sudden you're trying to get connected to me because I'm in a place in which you're trying to get to. Right. And so I allowed them to play this little game. Hey man, we got to go grab drinks and blah, blah, blah. I let them buy me drinks. We went to dinner. I picked a restaurant, group activities. Oh yeah, the whole nine. And then when it was time for them to drop the ask, I was like, unfortunately, as a board member, I don't get involved in stuff like this.
Wah, wah, wah. All that for nothing.
All of it for nothing. And they just looked at me. They looked at me as if they said, well, why would you accept all these things that I was offering you? I thought you was being nice. Right? So I was waiting for them to say something. Oh, okay, well, you know, I understand. I respect that, blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden, like, communication just disappeared. I anticipated that. But, you know, thanks for the drinks. Thanks for the happy hours. And, you know, we ate good. All the restaurants I picked, we ate very well. But I thought about individuals trying to get connected to you just so they can benefit from it. And I had to put some stuff in place, right? Some additional boundaries, just to, one, respect what I offer and my value as an individual, and to prevent me from cussing people out.
So my question is, Brother Jay, based on all of the myths and the legends around zodiac signs, is there any validity to them? You know what I'm saying? Like, because just like we said, we could chop up a myth and kind of justify with what's real and how a person shows up based on their zodiac sign. And so there kind of leads to a room for interpretation.
I would say that I have seen patterns of behaviors in people with the same sign.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't say that it's solely based on the zodiac sign, but I will say, I'll use Libra as an example. I've seen a lot of similarities in the Libras that I know.
Hello. And I ain't jumping on Libras. I love Libras. I love all Libras. September and October Libras. I love y'all. Just saying.
I've seen some similarities, right?
Yeah.
But I also will say, well, I did this experiment with my class. I gave them fake horoscopes. And I told them to read it. And then throughout the week, I would randomly have conversations with people based on the horoscope that I gave them. Or say for one group in particular, I would say they would start to see a certain number and the number will be a sign. And so when I graded their paper, I gave them that number.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it was like, see, that's what I'm saying. I was like, no, you're subscribing. So anything that you read in that horoscope, you were going to go look for as if it's really happening.
Yeah, yeah.
You'll see a sign and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, yeah, you know, the other day at the end of the storm, one of the streets, the road signs landed up on my front porch. And what did it say? It said stop. It was a stop sign. I said, and what do you think that's a sign for? Gosh, I don't know. But it's a sign, right? And so I think sometimes we subscribe to the notion of a zodiac sign or the horoscope, and mentally we try to force things to happen because the horoscope says it's going to happen.
Because we're supposed to be in that shape because it's what we putting our value in.
It's what we're supposed to do, right? Facts. It's what we're supposed to see.
Yeah.
So I it's weird because like I said, I've seen a lot of similarities and patterns and behaviors within a lot of the zodiac signs. I've also seen a lot of the characteristics not play out in a few people who are zodiac, like certain zodiac signs. So,
because if you're an asshole, it doesn't matter what sign you are. You're an asshole.
You're an asshole, right? And so I think it all depends on the interpretation. I think it depends on what you've been experienced and exposed to. But I also think that sometimes people will subscribe to a school of thought because, Aquarius is supposed to be X, Y, and Z, so now I'm going to start being X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm an Aquarius. Right, but is that who you really are, or did you just start doing this because someone said that this was behavior of an Aquarius?
Oh, you thought it was cool. Yeah, man. But that is it's interesting because in the year 2022, people still put a lot of value in zodiac signs to try to determine who a person they're dealing with really is, or
and to some extent, like I want to be fair to anyone that I meet, like tabula rasa. I have a blank slate. If you lead with your zodiac sign, experience is going to tell me that I shouldn't really disregard what you just said, given that I've had some experiences with your zodiac sign. And so, not saying I'm looking for the bad things to happen. However, I'm going to keep my sneakers laced up just in case I got to abandon ship, pivot, and do what I need to do to keep myself safe and secure.
Yeah, man. That's the difficult part for me, Brother Jay, because I feel like if I rock with a Scorpio, man, they going to be crazy as I am. And so that's going to be difficult.
It's a challenge, right? It's a challenge because as soon as someone says it, you like lock in like, oh, God.
Oh, shit.
But, myths of the Zodiac. Let us know on social
Zodiac,
media.
Man. Yeah, let it all our listeners out there, man. Like, do y'all believe in like the power of the Zodiac when it comes to influence over your relationships, whether they're romantic or platonic or some level of intimacy? Like, do y'all really believe in it or not? Because I think most people do.
To some extent.
Some people don't want to admit it.
Yeah, to some extent. Like, people, they'll subscribe to it. But ultimately, we just want you to be a good human. And
just a good human being. What you say, Brother Jay? What was this sign, man? Human, kind?
Human, be both. Yeah.
Be both?
Yeah.
Be human, be kind, be both. It ain't that hard, man. I get it. Everybody going through shit. I'm going through shit. Brother Jay going through shit. But that ain't no excuse to be an asshole.
At all.
God damn, man. That's how we gonna end the show. First season back. Like, we dropping some gems just like that. Be a human, be kind, and don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole.
Message.
Don't get punched in your face.
Man, they definitely don't catch you an eye jammy for being an asshole.
Don't get those eyes dotted.
As Fabulous once said, not enough youngsters are catching eye jammies to understand not to do shit to get you an eye jammy.
Fair. And I agree with that. One eye jammy will teach you some things.
Teach you a lot, man. Whole lot, man. Well, Brother Jay, it's been real coming back on the scene for season 5 with you, man. We got a lot in store for our listeners, man. We outside. Follow us on social media at GRGRLJKEV, Facebook, Instagram. We ain't really on the snapping and the tapping and the ticking and the talking because I'll be honest with you, folks. I'm 40-something years old, and I think I'm holding up the process on that because I just don't I still don't understand it. My son was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make you do a dance on TikTok." I said, "You ain't gonna have my old ass looking crazy like most of these old mofos that shouldn't be on TikTok in the first damn place." But that's neither here nor there.
Fair.
Yeah, welcome back, Brother Jay.
Hey, man, welcome back, season 5. Let's get it. To all of our listeners, welcome back, and we thank you for rocking with us. For now, 5 seasons.
Damn, 5 seasons, man. That's 5 a good number too. Damn good number. On that note, you've just witnessed another edition of the Game Recognized Game podcast with RLJ and Kev. I'm KEV. That's RLJ, and we are the gentlemen advancing the melanin evolution. Where evolution is revolution. Until next time, be light.
Don't be an asshole, but be light.